the factorization of polynomials. We've been given one, f of x equals x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12, right? So whenever you are factorizing polynomials, especially with high degrees, like here we have to the power 3, you're going to first do a trial and error method, all right? You're going to try to put in some values of x, right? And if you get 0, then that value is a factor, okay? So for this one, we're going to try x equals 2, okay? We say, all right, x equals 2, all right? So we're going to input 2 into this formula, into this polynomial. So we're going to have 2 cubed minus 3, right? We have 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 12, right? So 2 cubed, that is 8, right? Minus 2 to the power 2 is 4, 4 times 3, that is 12, minus negative 4 times 2, that's negative 8, plus 12, right? So you're going to say 8 minus 12, that's negative 4, minus 8, that's negative 12, plus 12, and we get 0, right? We get 0, right? So since when we used x equals 2 into this polynomial, we got 0. So we're going to know that x minus 2 is a factor, right? X minus 2 is a factor. Because if you remember, if we work backwards, all right, and they tell us to use the factor theorem to show that x minus 2 is a factor of this polynomial, you would know that you would say x minus 2 equals 0, right? And therefore, x is going to give you 2, all right? And we have seen that when we use 2 and put it into this polynomial, we're going to get 0. So now, since we have determined one factor, we have to determine the other factors, all right? Because remember, we have a polynomial to the power 3, all right? So we know that the other factor is going to be a quadratic expression, okay? So how we're going to get that? We're now going to use long division, all right? We're going to use long division. So let me just make some space here. All right. So we'll say x minus 2 divided by x cubed minus 3x squared minus 3x squared minus 4x minus 4x plus 12. All right, so whenever we're doing long division, we should remember these 3 simple rules, all right? You divide, all right? Let me even just use the signs. You divide Okay, divide, then you multiply, and then you subtract. Okay, you divide, you multiply, then you subtract. So what do I mean? We're going to start, all right? We're first going to divide x cubed, all right? X cubed divided by x, all right? So say x cubed divided by x, right? So remember from indices, right? X cubed divided by x to the power 1 is the same as saying that x to the power 3 minus 1, right? 3 minus 1. That will give us x squared, right? That will give us x squared, right? So this same x squared, we're going to put it here. We say x squared, right? So we've divided. Now we're going to multiply, all right? Step 2, we multiply. So we say x squared times x, okay? We get x to the power 3, okay? X to the power 3. Then we're going to say x squared minus 2x, we're going to get 2x squared, all right? All right, so we've multiplied. Now we're going to subtract. All right, so we're going to subtract. We say minus x squared minus x squared, that is 0. Okay, then negative 3 minus negative 2x squared, right? Negative 3x squared minus negative 2x squared. We're going to get negative 1x squared. Right? So it is negative x squared. All right, negative x squared. All right. This negative 4, we just like subtracting by 0, we get negative 4x here, right? This 12 minus 0, that's the same as saying 12 here, right? We repeat the process, all right? We divide, okay? We divide. So what are we going to divide with this time? We're going to divide with negative x squared, right? So we'll divide with negative x squared, right? So say negative x squared divided by x, that's going to give us negative x, all right, to give us negative x. So put here minus x, all right. So I'm going to say negative x times x, we get negative x squared, right? Negative x times negative 2, we get positive 2x, right? So we've multiplied, we've got step 3, we subtract. So negative x squared minus negative x squared, we're going to get 0, right? Then negative 4 minus 2 is going to give us negative 6 squared, oh, negative 6x. We have negative 6x here, right? 12 minus 0, that is 12. So bring down our 12, okay? All right. We repeat the process. Divide. Okay, so now what are we going to divide by? We're going to divide negative 6, all right? We say negative 6x, all right, divided by x. So as you can notice, we're dividing x by the variable, all right, or the term which is in front, okay? As you can see here, We divided first x cubed minus, they are divided by x, all right? Then as you can see here, the first term was negative x squared. We divided it by x, okay? So now here our first term is negative 6x, so we divide it by x, right? So x divided negative 6x divided by x will give us negative 6, all right? So this negative 6, we're going to write it here, all right? 6 times x, negative 6 times x, that's negative 6x, right? Negative 6 times negative 2, all right? That's positive 12, all right? So we've multiplied, we subtract now, right? Okay, negative 6 minus negative 6, that gives us 0. 12 minus 12, that gives us 0, all right? So x squared minus x minus 6 is our other factor, all right? X squared minus x minus 6 is our other factor. Now, this quadratic expression here, we can also factorize it further, all right? We can check if we can factorize it further, all right? Remember, in factorizing quadratic equations, okay, always you're going to list your A, your B, and your C, all right? Your A is the coefficient of the leading variable, okay? The coefficient of the leading variable, okay? So the coefficient of our leading variable, which is x squared here, is 1, okay? The leading coefficient is 1. B is the coefficient of your x variable, all right? B is the coefficient of x variable, all right? So say x plus bx, all right? So the leading coefficient of our x variable is negative 1, all right? So we say b is negative 1, all right? Then c represents your constant, all right? C represents your constant. Our constant here is negative 6, right? So we've determined our A, B, and C, all right? So in red here, this is the standard form of the quadratic equation, all right? That's how you're going to be able to get your values, your A, B, and your C, right? So after you've determined these, all right, first you're going to say A times C, all right? That's 1 times negative 6. That will give us negative 6, right? So now we're going to look for two numbers, all right? We'll look for two numbers that when you multiply them, you get negative 6. When you add them, right? When you add them, you're supposed to get negative 1, all right? When you add them, you're supposed to get negative 1. So those two numbers, you look for factors of 6. So you can say 2 and 3, all right? So we'll say negative 3 and 2, right? Because if you multiply 2 times negative 3, you get negative 6. If you add 2 plus negative 3, you get negative 1, right? So these are the two values we'll use. So we're just going to say x plus 2, okay, and then x minus 3, right? And we have our x minus 2. So now we have fully factorized, right? We have fully factorized the polynomial, all right? So we have x minus 2 x plus 2, x minus 3.